Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2023 International E-Conference on Holocaust Studies. My name is Dr. Mehek Burza, and I'm the head of the Holocaust and Religious Studies in the Global Center for Religious Research, founded and headed by Dr. Darren Slade. Keep in mind that each of these presentations are video recorded, so the information presented here will be available free of charge to you just for coming out and supporting us. So, thank you for that. Now, for those attending live, feel free to use the chat box to discuss with the other attendees or to ask questions as they come up. Our speakers will do their best to answer your questions at the end of their presentations. And with that said, it gives me pleasure to introduce to you all our speaker, Rachel Finkelstein. Right. Rachel Finkelstein is a versatile artist who focuses on feminist themes, and she is known for her multidisciplinary work. She co-founded Circles, the pioneering women's film distribution group in the United Kingdom. Her artistic endeavors have enjoyed extensive exhibitions across Europe, Israel, and the USA. Ms. Finkelstein attained her BA from St. Martin's College of Art in London, followed by an MA from the Royal College of Art in London. She further pursued an MFA from California State University, Long Beach. Ms. Finkelstein is now a first-year visual and performing arts doctoral student at the University of Texas at Dallas. Rachel, the floor is all yours.
Okay. So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Perfect.
So my presentation's title is Visual Narrative, and that's my research statement that although my presentation is not based on research, it's more about my journey, and it's a visual presentation. But in this research, my focus revolves around delving into the intricate domain of inherited trauma within family dynamic. I intend to employ artistic expression as a valuable tool for navigating the profound emotional voids stemming from generational wounds. To achieve this, I plan to interlink my personal family narrative with a broader discourse on trauma studies, drawing insight from scholarly discussion, notably those present in the Journal of the Holocaust and Genocide Studies and Memory Studies. By adopting a visual narrative approach, my goal is to explore the intricate pathway of individual and collective trauma, particularly emphasizing how historical tragedies such as the genocide reverberate within familial histories. Through the creative process, I aim to decipher unspoken experiences and unravel the complexities of emotional inheritance, hereby providing a voice to sentiments often challenging to articulate through conventional means. These research projects encompass a dual narrative, one that charts my personal journey in coming to terms with the inherited trauma, and another one that I hope to contribute to the academic dialogue on Holocaust trauma studies. By integrating artistic expression with exploration of family history, this investigation presents a distinctive perspective on the enduring impact of historical trauma on individual and subsequent generation. So this is like trying to make a slide about the future research that is a little bit more artistic. But those are the lead actor of my visual narrative. On the left, you see the left, if you the facing left that you can see is my aunt Pinka Rosner. My next to her is my father, Yehuda Finkelstein, and on the right to him is my mother, Bella Rosner. She's pregnant at that particular moment. It was 1950 in Israel. Pregnant with me. I was born in 1950, and in the middle is my sister Nili. And on the right, you see in Palestine in 1947. My mother is the person standing with at the top, and next to and on the right you see Hella Rosner, my aunt. She's a Holocaust survivor. So in my father's family, this is the only image that I have of them. And you can see in this image is they were born in Ukraine, Berezhnitsa. That's what the things that I know about them. And as far as I know, this is the only. As far as I know, they shot to death by the Holocaust, of the bullet Holocaust in Ukraine. And so what you can see over here, you see my grandfather, Israel, and my grandmother, Rachel Finkelstein, that I'm called after. And this is Betzalel Finkelstein and Osnat Finkelstein. None of those people survived the Holocaust. And as seeing is believing, and this is an image of what happened in Ukraine, more or less at the time that I assume that they were killed. The Jews were forced to dig their own grave, and that happened in July 5th, 1941. And Jewish women waiting to be executed by the order police, which were the local police, not the Nazi. The order police, they were the Nazi and the assistant of Ukrainian auxiliaries. And you can see that all of them are standing naked. They were asked to take off their clothes. Some of the women holding their children, and some of the women are pregnant. And that's the order police execute those that survived the initial shooting. So I'm thinking about, when I see images like that, I think about myself, my pregnancy, my daughter, and I think about my family as well. So none of them had tombstone, no burial, no mourning, no prayer, and the Kaddish is sung normally for people as a part of after they're dead. And this particular song is Kaddish in Yiddish in the honor of the Holocaust victim by Tova Ben Tzvi, and I kind of included it as part.
Gadal ויתקדש, יתגדל ויתקדש. Wie vor seinen Scheunito soll geheiligt sein die Show. Mire Babenen sei on Rasch. Yitgadal veyitkadash. Was verblieben ist uns mehr, wie die durchgegliedte Träer, häufig vor ihm, auf dem Asch. Yitgadal veyitkadash. Yitgadal veyitkadash. Yitgadal veyitkadash. Bevor seinen Scheunito soll geheiligt sein die Show. Mire Babenen sei on Rasch. Yitgadal veyitkadash.
That's after Gila, whom I never met, but I'm named after. Looking at you, looking at me, I think I inherited your piercing brown eyes. This is a poem by Paul Kleen, and a little root of a dream. And he wrote it while he was in the Holocaust. Oh, little root of a dream, you hold me here, undermined by blood, no longer visible to anyone, property of death. Curve a face that there may be speech of earth, of ardor, of things with eyes, even here where you read me blind. Even here where you refute me to the letter. This particular image is, I tend to use quite a lot of technology in my art. And this Dale to AI variation of Savta Rachel. And I kind of asking myself, as the metaverse promised us unlimited possibility to overcome the physical world's limitation, what if one could talk to a digital image of a deceased loved one? What will I tell you, Savta? Savta is, in Hebrew, it's grandmother. So what will I tell you, Savta? The trouble with trying to find brown cover book among brown leaves and brown water at the bottom of a ditch of brown earth in the brown well, grayish light of dawn was that you could not. That's exactly how I feel about trying to dig out information about my family. This is a little bit of a longer video, so I'll go fast forward here. It feels like it's dots of brown that don't add too much. So on my mother's side of the family, their last name was Rosner. They lived in Krzanów, which is a province of Krakow. You know, it was Poland at the time, and it's Ukraine now. On my mother's side of the family were murdered during the Holocaust. There was my grandfather, Moshe Rosner, my grandmother, Gila Rosner, my aunt, Rivka Rosner Heinhorn. She was 32 when she was murdered. And she had a child, a 2-year-old child, Pini Horn, and he was murdered too. And my aunt, Hinda. The story about my aunt Rivka, that when they arrived in Auschwitz, she was holding her son Pini, and she was given an option of giving her child and joining the other line that was available to join, and she chose to go with the kids most likely to the God's oven, because nobody saw her after that. This is the only picture that I have of my mother's side of the family. That's my grandmother, Gila Rosner. I actually know her maiden name. Her maiden name was Rotman. She was born in 1881 in Poland. And my heritage had an option of kind of activating those videos. So those still images that I had. So on the right, you can see Yad Vashem. I mean, the Holocaust Center in Israel. And my aunt Pinka, that we saw in the beginning of the introduction of this presentation, she herself was a partisan. She is the only one that managed to escape the war that way, and she spent a lot of the time of the war in Russia. But when she came to Israel in 1950 with her daughter that was born after the war, and her husband, she's the one that recorded all the people that died from my mother's side of the family in Yad Vashem. And that's the rest of them. That my grandfather, Moshe, Hinda, my mother's sister, my aunt, my nephew on the right, and Rivka Rosner, my mother's sister, on the left. So I knew that my aunt Hela was in Auschwitz, so I thought maybe there would be a way of finding some information, at least about her, because she survived. So my research of the Rosner family member on the Auschwitz prisoner list was unsuccessful, even though Pinka placed their place and reason of death as Auschwitz on the Yad Vashem forms. The only Rosner on the Auschwitz list that could have been my aunt, was Elena Rosner, born in 1914. My surviving aunt, Hella Rosner, was born in 1912 and was an Auschwitz prisoner and survivor. But according to the Auschwitz prisoner list, Helena Rosner was transported to another camp. So that's the information that's the kind of information that you get when you do the research. And you can see here the numbers, the scope of numbers, and what it stands for. I mean, men, women, Jewish, Sinti, Roma definition of all that. And that's the Helena Rosner that we don't think it's my aunt. So, and that's the transportation list of Helena. So I found myself finding different archive and so on and so forth, but couldn't find additional information. Although there are many Rosners and many Finkelsteins, they don't, the first name is not the right one. The place of birth is not what kind of connect me to them. So I felt after all that journey that the lost generation, to say what I'm going to say now, to the lost generation of my family member. If I could find an accurate record of your name in my research, you would still only be voiceless symbol and character of letters in an archive of Nazi victims. This particular piece, I'll show you what it looked like, and I'll read the text later. So I made it in 2012. And I made it, my mother, although she arrived she came to Palestine as illegal immigrant. In 1942, she got an identity card by the British mandate. And I made a project that I kind of projected, and I'll go back to it in the other page. All of us, my grandmother, Gila, my mother, myself, and my daughter Sasha. So, sorry. So, her story, 4th-generation female X chromosomal inheritance lineage 2012. Her story, 4th-generation female X chromosome inherited lineage, is an attempt to connect 4 generations of her story and our genetic heritage. My mother was born to an Orthodox family as one of 6 daughters. With the rise of anti-Semitic tendency in Europe, at the age of 22, she left Galicia, Poland, and moved to Palestine without her parents' approval. My mother kept the last postcard she received from her mother in a jewelry box. It was written in German, and she used to occasionally read it. "Dear daughter," it said, "this is the only time I'm happy you didn't listen to me." My grandmother, as far as I know, was mass murdered in a communal grave in Krzanów, Poland, not long after that. I left Israel in 1973 with a one-way ticket to Europe. My daughter Sasha was born in California in 1991 through donor conception to lesbian parents. Looking at the 4 of us, one might notice that we were born on 3 continents, Europe, Asia, and America. 3 of us don't share the same native language. 2 of us never had opportunity to meet. My mother died before my daughter was born. But despite all that, an X-chromosomal lineage and a sense of belonging connect us all. The image of my grandmother, Gila Rosner, was only a negative when I got hold of it. And it's still the only image that I have of her. I try to put myself in her place, imagining what it will feel like to be branded by having the Star of David sewn on each garment I own. I ask myself, can future technology bring us closer to the missing thread of love, physical contact, smell, or touch? This again was done by Dale E2, but can you, the viewer, when you look at it, see what is missing when they make variation produced by AI on Dale E2 of Savta Gila? What's missing is the yellow star. But none of those other women have. Three of us don't share the same native language. German, Russian, Yiddish, Polish, Hebrew. So I try to see if I can teach myself to say, I love you, Savta Gila, in those languages.
I love you, Savta Gila.
I love you, Savta Gila. I love you, Savta Gila. אני אוהבת אותך, סבתא גילה.
Kocham cię, Sveta Gila.
Kocham cię, sta. No, again.
Kocham cię, Sveta Gila.
Kocham cię, Sveta Gila. אני אוהבת אותך, סבתא גילה. Ich liebe ihr, Savta Gila. Ich liebe ihr, Savta Gila. אני אוהבת אותך, סבתא גילה.
Я люблю тебя, Света Гила.
Я люблю тебя, Света Гила.
Я люблю тебя, Света Гила. Я люблю тебя, Света Гила.
Я люблю тебя, Света Гила. אני אוהבת אותך, סבתא גילה.
Ich liebe dich, Sveta Gila.
Ich liebe dich, Sveta Gila. Ich liebe dich, Sveta Gila. Ich liebe dich, Sveta Gila. Ich liebe dich, Sveta Gila. So you probably all noticed the no Yiddish voice available in Google Translate, which is a shame. It is a short animation of me holding the frame image that I made of Savta Gila. And I thought that Elie Wiesel's statement, for the dead and the living, we must bear witnesses, was relevant. This particular song was written in the concentration camp. The title is The Lonely Child, and it was tribute to Sarah and all the Jewish children who had been forced into hiding during the war. The poem was set to music by a composer, Yankel Krimsky, which was a theater artist who is believed to have been murdered in a camp towards the end of the war. And I'd like to share it with you.
מחבר קצ'רגינסקי, מוזיק ינקו קרימסקי, gesungen durch מחבר.
And it's in Yiddish.
Orle Krimsken in New York und a geruster Mannen in New York. Es jagt mich, wer jagt, und lässt nicht zurück. Oh Mame, mein Mame, wo bist du? Es sucht dir dein Sorel, es ruft dir dein Kind. Wo jet uns jommers in Feld der Wind. Es sucht dir dein Sorel, es sucht dir dein Kind. Wo jet uns jommers in Feld der Wind. Der Tate nicht tot, wer weiß wo ist. Hat ihn gefangen, a grausamer Rief. Die Nacht schwarz gewesen ist, wenn das ist gefällt. Noch weiter der Pony, mein Mann ist gewesen. Die Nacht schwarz gewesen ist, wenn das ist gefällt. Noch weiter der Pony, mein Mann ist gewesen. In Umruf und Tag, in Wander von Nacht, in Umruf und Schlaf liegt das Kind und es da. O Kind mein, sie hört voll von Taten betrieb. Mame verwiegt dir und singt dir das Lied, als du wirst einmal am Mame sein. Sollst du deine Kinder erzählen dem Feind, was Tate, was Mame gehabt hat zum Feind. Und wir das morgen vergessen uns nicht ein, was Tate, was Mame gehabt hat zum Feind. Der Mond wir das morgen vergessen uns nicht ein.
This is the translation to English. It was also available in the earlier slide in a smaller scale, but the end of the song is in this lyric is telling the kids and the girl, particularly for Sarah. If it happens someday, a mother you be, you must make your children aware of the pain, how your father and mother suffer under the enemy. Don't forget the past, not for a single day. Don't forget the past, not for a single day. So I've done some animation with touch design with some of this text. Could be interesting to add the reading, the song as a soundtrack on top. But at the moment, those animations are silent. And this one, Never Again, also made with touch design. That's Never Again. It's like a train moving the other direction. And this particular piece, I actually made this part of it, the rectangle on the left, in different color. I tried to insert myself in the history of the Holocaust by adding the one, what will happen if I was the 6,000,001. And originally, I asked, will I have to wear, oh, sorry. Will I have to wear a pink triangle or the yellow triangle, the yellow for the Jews and the pink for the gay? But as I did some additional research, I found out that lesbian didn't wear pink triangular. They wore a black one because they were part of the asocial category of people. So for this particular piece, I changed the color. So inserting myself with the right color this time. And that's the end. Oh.
All right. Thank you, Rachel.
Well,
That was quite interesting and quite different, I must say.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. When it comes to representation of the Holocaust, there are ample of representations available. So how effective do you think it is to use the visual narrative to represent the Holocaust? And what would be the appropriate age to sensitize students towards it?
And I really don't know how to answer this question because I'm not a teacher or at this stage, and I don't deal with teaching that age group of kids. It's important and a difficult question. I mean, as I say, I was born into it, so it's my process is different. You know, it's in your blood. You know it even in the silence, and even if I didn't ask question, it was all kind of part of the journey that
I understand.
in your DNA.
It's in your genetics.
Yeah.
So coming over to the more personal aspect of the transgenerational Holocaust trauma. So for you, is there a difference between the trauma of knowing that your family was mass murdered and the trauma of being the daughter of refugees?
I mean, there is no contradiction in what you ask, because I mean, it's both. I mean, I knew, and I was. I mean, they immigrated to Palestine before the war, but it's partly because of the anti-Semitism in Europe, right? I mean, they lived in Europe so many generations. It was their culture, everything. So they didn't leave just because I don't think they would have left otherwise. So we were were both. They left because of anti-Semitism, and then we had the loss of the one that stayed behind, those older, the parents and the younger children. Because in my mother's side of the family and my father, most of them, the younger one left. I mean, the older enough. I mean, the younger one stayed with the family because they were too young to live. But yeah, so we lost both ways.
Yeah, I understand, yes. So it sounds like there are a lot of unknowns and gaps of knowledge about what happened to your family. So do those unknowns cause a separate kind of trauma for you?
Yeah, I mean, you have an empty kind of, I mean, it's an empty kind of like space that you can't find it. But even if you, as I said, even if you find some information that they were killed in Auschwitz or in another camp or they were murdered, that really in the long run, it's not going to fill that space that, you know, not having a relationship, not having sitting down for Shabbat or for Passover or for Hanukkah together and having a grandparent. I don't have grandparents from both sides. Never had grandparents. So the gap of languages that we all had, yeah, even with my parents spoke to each other in Polish and to us in Yiddish, and their Hebrew was always broken Hebrew, and so there is all those but this kind of most immigrants have those those dilemmas as well. It's not just a Holocaust survivor or third generation survivor. But yeah, yeah. And we, like, for example, I know my grandmother's maiden name, but I don't know from my mother's side, but not from my father's side. So because it's important for me as a feminist to find out also not just the male kind of connection, but also the female history. And I just don't know her last name, and I don't know which family she's coming from. And I'm named after her, so it's kind of important for me.
All right. So have you received any professional art therapy, or has your personal artwork been your primary means of coping up with the trauma?
No, I didn't receive any therapy or art therapy. No, I mean, it's a way for me to express, because I'm an artist, that's not my only art that I'm doing. I'm not just doing art related to the Holocaust. So I found it as a way of dealing with it, or trying to find some kind of connection, or think about ways of how technology can get us closer. I really like the part. I mean, it's not in terms of its artistic merit, but in terms of the concept of the languages that they all spoke, and I can't even pronounce with the help of Google Translate that language. That kind of gap, or having just one image of a whole family, just one image that it was even a negative that I kind of, it was next to my mother's notes from a card from my mother. There was this negative, and I took it and developed it and made it into an artwork and something I can hold. So, I mean, I'm just using it and improvising, really. I mean, there is just improvisation of some ways of kind of having a moment with those images that supposed to be people, and and they're just a photograph.
Yeah, that was intriguing for sure.
Yeah.
We are open for question and answers from the attendees. So anybody can go ahead, unmute themselves, and ask any question that they have to Rochelle. It seems that we don't have any further questions. I'm really interested in seeing how your research turns out.
Yeah.
Yes, AI is certainly on the rise.
I know that it's being used already. Yeah, but I also the mere fact that when I made copy of my grandmother Gila, it didn't show the Star of David, right? It showed all the other old women with no Star of David. That's not in the memory of. They didn't see that didn't notice. Yeah. So yeah, no, it definitely can be interesting.
Wonderful way to keep the Holocaust memory alive. with the receding number of survivors.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with all the interviews they made, and yeah, they will bring them back to life. Yeah, it's there would be something, right? Bring them back to life. It's digital images.
Yes.
One
yes.
way of doing it. Yeah.
Right, it seems we don't have any further questions, so I'll let you have the final word, Rachel.
Well, final word is we need to remember, right?
Yes.
And remember, I mean, obviously the Holocaust is traumatic, but there were other communities that also have not similar, but their own journey that they want us to remember. So, I mean, so we need to learn to respect each other and find way of living together.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank
once
you,
again.
darling. Yeah. Bye.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining in.
Bye.